Okay, hang on. All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic and auxiliary. Okay. Derek, could you go ahead? Just sound off.
Blah blah blah. Shin Megami Tensei 5. Blah 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 blah.
You're a jerk. And with that, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to Press Turn. It's a video game podcast. We talk about video games and I guess make silly faces. Derek is very excited to be back, obviously. How you been,
Woohoo!
man?
Tired. Not a
Un-
big fan of daylight savings.
Understandable. Yeah, and just once again, another chillcast today. They've kind of all been turning into that with these last couple episodes, actually. But yeah. Anyway, got a lot to catch up on. Sorry again, everyone, for essentially like the month hiatus. They had a couple things planned, but they didn't really pan out very well. But we're we're taking baby steps here, so I will try to do better in the future. Anyway, let's just get right into it. Derek, what have you been up to in your continuing quest of RPG-ness?
Well, slightly off the beaten path, I finished Metroid Dread, which was fantastic. There was actually quite a bit of discussion in our Geeks Under Grace chat because Maurice reviewed it and he complained that it was, what do you call it, premium price nostalgia, and it wasn't that good. And
Mm,
Metroidvanias have gotten better since then. I don't care about that because, like, for me, I haven't been able to play. I get motion sick from 3D games, especially first person.
right.
So I played Metroid Prime for like 5 minutes and almost threw up. So I haven't been able to play Metroid, which is a series that I love, for like 20 years. So the fact that this game was mostly like a retread in terms of like mechanics of the old ones, yes, give me more. Like, if it was just Super Metroid in HD, okay, I'm all on board. And to me it felt different. I haven't played these for 20 years, so I thought it was difficult. Like the last boss, I probably had to fight 20 times, and I was ticked by the end of it. Um, but I did beat it, and then you unlock hard mode, which is like, what, why, why, why would you give me something harder than this? Um,
Cause it's fun. It's a challenge, right? So
but I enjoyed the game enough. I did go get every single item. I 100%ed items. And some of those speed block puzzles were crazy. Um, what else was I going to say about it? I think part of the discussion we had about whether it's really worth $60 or whatever, because originally it started, it was going to be a DS game, and then they, after Mercury Stream did the remake for Samus 2 for Metroid 2, they gave this project to them. I think part of it is that, like, for somebody like Maurice, that he's the kind of guy that will not play a game on PS4 or 5 or PS4, I guess, because if it's 30 frames per second, he'll wait 2 years for it to come out on PC because it has to be on 60 frames per second because everything has to be premium. The Switch is not that, and he doesn't play the Switch that often. The Switch is not that kind of device. When you look at the Switch, they get all these games that came out on PS4 and Xbox, and then they have to be on the cloud on the Switch, but they're like premium, like advanced games. And then you have the Nintendo products that are kind of like last gen but HD. But then you see a lot of games come out that only come out on iOS, Android, and Switch. Like the Switch is very much has kind of an identity crisis in terms of, is this an HD platform? Is this a mobile platform? Like it's all
yeah.
of those. So just because a game is like a first party title from Nintendo on the Switch doesn't really mean much in terms of like whether it has to be premium, I guess. Now, maybe he was talking more about gameplay and innovation. I, again, I guess I didn't find any problem with the fact that I had to get the Morphball yet again. Like, there weren't that many new items. The main new thing were the Emmys, where were like in these areas where you're basically being constantly chased, and you could get insta killed if you get caught by these things. And then,
Right.
um, and I at first I wasn't a big fan of those because I don't really do spooky, and I definitely jumped the first few times because the animation where it kills you is just kind of jarring.
Oh,
But
okay. Huh.
eventually, I got used to it. I got past them, so um, I don't know if I liked it, but I didn't dislike that part by the end. But I thought the story was really cool. I thought the graphics looked good to me. Again, I'm not somebody that can tell the difference between 30 and 60 frames per second, so that meant nothing to me. Um, the only complaints I had, I wish I had an easy mode, but this is such a minor nitpick. There's one ability you get that has this very secret extra thing it can do that you don't ever need the entire game except for one puzzle I had to look up. And I was like, nobody ever told me that you
Oh,
could do that.
okay.
There's a speed booster puzzle that I'm like, there's no other part in the game where you could even do this trick, and no one ever tells you that this trick is even possible.
Hmm.
So I would have rather either don't have it in there or like show me that you can do it and make it a part of a cooler like required puzzle.
Well, I'm curious. Is the trick like when you looked it up? Was it like because I know uh that Metroid is like the Metroid series is somewhat famous or infamous, I guess, for like uh I for lack of a better word, like path breaking techniques in every game. So I guess is it something like that where it's like it's a it's an advanced technique from a previous game, or
No,
is it
I don't
something
think
specific
so.
to this one?
It was not in any of the other 2D games. I think it's okay to say it's not that much of a spoiler because you literally don't need it for the rest of the game.
Hmm.
So there's a okay, when you there's a speed booster that you get, and you like run far enough, and then you go lightning fast, which is just like it was in the old games.
Okay.
But there's a new part where like you can like do what's called a shine spark, and this is part of what they tell you when you get the item, where you like push a button and then you like store this like really fast thing. So like you run fast, you store this thing, and then you're kind of walking around and flashing. And while you're flashing, you can push another button and then push a direction, and you'll just like fly and like break stuff in the direction you go.
Oh,
So so
okay.
like
So
so that's all known to you.
right.
Like basically, you run around with this thing, then you store the spark, and then you aim at a certain direction, and you break through the wall. Or especially if it's a speed booster block, that's what you're really trying to break.
Hmm.
But you just go flying at a wall. What they don't tell you in the game anywhere is that if you go flying with the shine spark, if you go flying towards a slant, so like a ramp, and you hit it, you'll start running again, and you'll still be in speed booster mode. The part they don't tell you is that when you do that, you can store another shine spark. That is not told. That is not told anywhere in the game. So like,
So
if you hit a ramp, you don't. It doesn't end. Normally, it ends. You smash something and it's over. If
mhm.
you hit a ramp, you keep running again, and then you can store another one. And so there's one weird corner puzzle where you could do this, and you do it twice. But like, I would have never. I spent a good probably hour and a half trying to do this puzzle, and before I looked it up,
Oh wow.
and that would have never occurred to me. And usually, I'm a big fan of looking things up, but I was like, nope, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to do this. I've got a PhD in mathematics. I can do a Metroid puzzle, but the PhD did me no good.
Apparently it wasn't
But
more math, it was more no Metroid. Metroid though.
but but if the thing I'm complaining about in the game is a corner puzzle that isn't needed for the main game, then it's a pretty good game. Like
Yeah.
that's all I can come up with. And again, if the complaint is like, oh, this is too much like the old ones, Super Metroid's one of the best games ever made. So
Mhm.
like, I'm okay with more of the same.
Yeah, I mean like it is kind of interesting considering like aside from Kirby games, Metroid like the Metroid series and I guess essentially the ongoing discussion is Star Fox 64 just the untrumpable Star Fox game that we have. Uh it's very interesting how Metroid Dread at least from what I've been seeing from like bits of reviews that I'm not reading fully because I do want to pick up that game eventually, and like people going on Twitter and talking about it. Like the impression I get is that Metroid Dread is like the other Metroid games, uh, but more like the Metroid 2 remake and more stuff. So it's really so if anything, it's kind of like um it kind of be uh um at the risk of enraging a lot of old nerds. uh it sounds like the reception towards Mega Man 11, but this is applying to a series where people haven't had a game continuing the series for like for essentially like not including the Metro 2 remake for the better half of uh 2 decades. Is that correct? Or
It's
almost two
yeah.
decades?
I think Fusion came out in 2002 or 2003, so it's been like 18 or 19 years.
Yeah, that like
Um,
that's pretty crazy. And I mean like uh knowing the history of Metroid Dread itself is also very interesting because this was I think you mentioned it, but like the fact that this was originally supposed to be on the DS and then it got canned and then essentially got resurrected um to bring back I think a few years back or something like that. And
so I think my understanding is that it's like the Metroid 2 remake because it's the same. So Mercury Stream made that, and after they made that, Nintendo said, "Hey, you killed it, so why don't you guys do this too?"
okay.
So that's why they feel so similar. It's the same developer, and enough that I haven't played the Metroid 2 remake. I lost my 3DS somewhere in my house like
Mhm.
2 years ago, or maybe I don't know what I did with it. Maybe a dog ate it. We don't have a dog, but maybe a dog ate it.
A dog
But
ate the 3DS.
somewhere. But I'm tempted to go buy one because I want to go play that Metroid 2 remake, and there's a couple of other random games that I never finished that I'd like to go back to. So it impressed me enough that I want to go back and play the other one that they developed.
Mm,
But one thing you said about it having more bells and whistles, I don't think that's true in terms of maybe there's more tools, but like in terms of like menu options and like extras, like there's the items and then there's like a hard mode, but like in terms of like if this game had trophies, there's like six. Like there aren't trophies, but like you get like art for doing things, and the only things that you're rewarded for doing, you're rewarded for completing the items, and then so maybe seven, and then you're like rewarded for beating like normal or hard at all, or in 8 hours, or in 4 hours. So
okay.
like if you speed run hard, you get like, which I would never do in a million years, you would get like the most art. But like there's no like optional bosses, for example, like things like that. Like there really isn't a lot of like side content other than grabbing all the items. And there's not a lot of menu options either. Like no
Mm,
difficulty setting, no. I mean, you don't really need camera settings. It's 2D, but like there's not a lot of bells and whistles. But I didn't need them. I mean, I think partially because Metroid is like 2D. Metroid is so natural to me that I just I felt like I was playing Super Metroid HD remake, except that with a new story or whatever. But it felt
mm,
like I was like back to like it is like comfort food, but in the best way possible. Like some people use that phrase as like a nice way to give a game a seven, but no, it was like 9, 10 level comfort food. Like have had mom's biscuits and gravy for 20 years kind of thing.
oh man, kind of making me feel awkward about that Melty Blood Type Lumina review now. But yeah, yeah. I mean that's cool though, because like to me, Metroid Dread, just from seeing little bits of footage and trying my best to not like look too far into it because I don't want like anything spoiled to me. Like that's kind of the point of a game like Metroid
Sorry.
is uh like every screen that you see is kind of part of that whole puzzle of the game itself. So uh But yeah, I mean that sounds good. Like I can't wait to play it. So
So after I finished that, I played about 5 minutes of Skyward Sword HD, but I really can't stand the controls. So we'll see if I can convince myself. And
wait,
then I went back.
are you using the
I'm
are you
using.
using the
I
new
was using
controls now?
this the new controls.
Okay.
I might even try the like because I was playing it in the car on the way back from Florida, so I might try it with the motion controls again. But I don't know. But I'm also frustrated because they kept saying this wasn't going to happen. So I played like a third of the way through the whole game on the Wii, and then they announced this. So right now I'm annoyed because I'm playing through stuff I already saw. So I wasn't very motivated to get very far.
Oh, okay.
It's the only Zelda I haven't beaten, so I feel obligated to finish it out.
Hmm.
Um, but I've got a baby on the way, so there's going to be a lot less gaming time. So I was like, what do I really want to finish? And so I platinumed Trails of Cold Steel 4, which was now I have platinumed all four of those games, which was a lot of work. But
I bet.
I will say, before this series, I think this is the series that convinced me to like even consider doing optional content in games. I used to be the guy that would go straight through the story and then trade it into GameStop, and I was done.
Hmm.
And so, but the side content in those games is like the world building is so good, and even like one thing I really don't like about Cold Steel compared to the Sky trilogy is that they've kind of turned it into a harem anime a little bit, where like like you have bodied events with different characters, but like at the end, you pick the girl that Rain's with or whatever, which
Oh, okay.
makes the story weaker overall because like if you have to write the dialogue 9 different ways, then you never really get it deep. Like
Right.
you can't really tie it into the story because you don't know what the person's going to do. But this time through, I did all the bonding events, so I did all the like bonding trophies with the guys that nobody ever picks. They were so much better because rather than being romantic and it's all the same from every girl's like, oh, I love you, Reen. Instead, it was like callbacks to like story beats and like characters that you hadn't met yet that were like in like backstories of characters. Like all the bonding events with the guys were fantastic,
Mm.
and like even the combat like it's one of the best turn-based combat systems out there. But even just like building my characters, like that's not something I really usually like geek out about, and like setting up my character's equipment, especially because you have a huge cast at the end of this.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoyed it for once. I had a character that had like 116% evasion, and every time she dodges, she counterattacks for like critical, and it was just like anytime anybody tried to attack me, I just blew them up. It was fantastic.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, I love that series. And from what I've read, the next two, so there's four games coming out, well, five, but only one next year, and then like three the year after that, because the two in between the Sky arc and the Cold Steel arc never came to America, but they're finally coming. But then the next two, like sequentially, that have already been released in Japan, I've heard are really good.
Hmm.
So they're kind of the next one is kind of a transition, and then they're kicking off a new arc with a different main character. But from what I've read, it's like they I think it's RPG site. The guy that covers trails there like plays them in Japanese ahead of time.
Hmm.
And I think just this week he had posted about the two games from now and how awesome it was. So I am pretty hyped. I don't know what I'm going to do for the next year while I wait, but
Uh,
I'm pretty excited.
I'm trying to look at. I'm trying to look for it right now. Is it Trails into Reverie?
That's the next one that it takes place. It's kind of a transition one from the Cold Steel arc to the next arc. So each arc takes place in a different country on the same continent. And so this was the Erebonia arc, and then Calvard's next, and then that one is like kind of like a transition from one arc to the next. And I've heard that one's good. And then the next one is Kuro no Kaseki, but it doesn't have an English name yet. I think it's going to be called like Trails of Black or something. Um, but that's the one that from what I've read, that one's not Trails into Reverie, the next one, because it has a whole new cast, new characters, and Green's not in it, which he's been in for like 5 games straight. It didn't sell as well in Japan, but I think they're still gonna. I think they kind of anticipated that,
Uh,
so I think they're gonna stick with it. At this
yeah.
point, I feel like they're committed. Like they basically said at the end of Trails of Cold Steel 4, which has in Japan has the subtitle "End of Saga," like it's over. But then they said we're about halfway done, and that's game 9. So
Oh my
I think they're
goodness.
planning on like 20 games with the same overarching story. So I feel like they're kind of committed. Like they gotta see this through at this point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow,
and then
I
the
didn't see this before. If you look at, hang on a second, I just realized. I have Workplace open and it's going off like crazy. What are they talking about?
yeah,
Anyway, I just looked at this here on the Wikipedia article under reception and sales. Has been noted by critics for its emphasis on character arcs and world building. Nintendo Life compared the series' depths and interconnectedness to George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire franchise.
well, if you
That's
look
saying
at it,
something, considering that
there,
dude hasn't released the next book yet.
there is a site that it's outdated because it doesn't have Cold Steel 4 on there, but it's like longest video game scripts of like any video games, and some of them are visual novels that are just out of control.
Yeah.
And then they put some books for comparison, but it's like the top 20 or something, and all 8 Trails games are on there up to that point. I'm sure Cold Steel 4 would be in there as well.
Yeah.
Like they're some of the
I think
biggest.
that makes sense.
I mean, it's even stuff like if you talk to the same NPC, he'll say, and then you talk to him after an event, he'll say something different. But even before that, if you talk to an NPC and then you just talk to him again, they'll say something different. Like every single NPC in this game has all these games, all 9 of them, has at least like 2 different dialogue sets. Like every time you talk to them.
Mhm.
Um. Okay, so I finished that like a couple of nights ago, and it just if you ever had that feeling like where you finish like a book or a trilogy and you're like, oh man, what am I gonna do now? Like that's how I felt. Which I wasn't sure after I originally beat it for the review. I was like, man, how long am I gonna wait to go back and plat this? Which that was about a year ago. But yeah, it was fun to go through again.
Mhm.
And then okay, so I had a student who's moving away, but he stayed around campus for a couple years, and after he graduated, and I bought his Wii U because he was leaving, because I didn't play video games from like 2011 to like 2017 or 18. So I basically missed like the whole Wii U generation.
Right.
And all that's come out on the Switch. He had all these games too, but I was like, I own every single one of these on the Switch. But the only game left that I really wanted to play is Xenoblade Chronicles X. And I've heard 2 different conflicting things about this. I've heard they never ported it to Switch because the gamepad integration is too complicated and they didn't know how to fix that. And the other thing I heard more recently was that they actually approached Nintendo about porting it, and Nintendo said, we don't want it. And they said, well, can we do the definitive edition of Xenoblade 1 instead? And that's why they did that. So
Wow. That's pretty
I don't
crazy.
know. I don't know which one of those is true, or maybe they're both true. But I was like, well, I do want to play this. It's very different. I don't know if the story will connect in the broad scheme of things, and I really can't tell you much without spoilers for like the whole series. Um, but gameplay definitely feels more like Xenoblade One, which isn't too surprising. It's definitely a very different setting. This is what they tell you. I'm not very far. I'm like a couple hours in. So this is what they tell you right off the bat: is that there's 2 alien races that fight, and Earth is destroyed in the middle of it. So the Earth, like, they know this is coming, that these aliens are gonna fight. So they like launch a bunch of ships to like try to escape and find another place to land. So you're like on one of the human ships that crash lands on this new planet, and they're trying to survive. Um, but they launched on like a huge ship that had like a basically a city like on the ship. So like it's not like complete, like there's wilderness around you, but you basically live in like an industrialized like dome. Um, and so like your character joins with like basically like the people that do like ops missions around the planet to like try to find other humans that landed, and that's as far as I'm at. But it's a very different story in terms of like very much has to do with Earth and humanity, whereas like the other 2 games, you're on these mystical worlds and you live on Titans and all that. So the fact that it's very strange or unique, that this one is very directly about Earth and what happens to humans after that. Um,
Sorry, it's just like you were trying to explain it, and then it seems like your brain just kind of like uh went kaput because how do I even explain this? There's so much to talk about. Uh,
I mean, it is. If you play those games, the story does get pretty wild, especially because the main story always seems very followable, and then at the end there's these nuggets. Like if you ever played Xenogears, the nugget was like the whole second disc, but like
right.
they always have this thing at the end where it's like, okay, now I'm going to completely confuse you, and then like the main story can still complete, but like, what does it all mean? Like, I bet
I,
there's
I mean,
some.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, that just sounds like Xenosaga to me all the way through.
Well, yeah. I don't. What's not clear to me. So okay, so like Xenogears. If you start Xenogears back on the PS1, it start at the beginning. It says Episode 5,
Okay. Oh, wait, what?
and the very like the opening credits say Episode 5.
Oh,
So
I did not know that.
the original plan was that Xenosaga would be episodes 1 through 6, and I think episode 5 was going to be a remake of Xenogears.
Oh, okay.
But I
Huh.
don't think Xenosaga sold well enough to get past episode 3. And I never finished the third one. I would love to go back and play those. So I don't know if that one concludes like definitively, or if it's kind of like we kind of needed another trilogy. But what's not clear to me is the extent to which is Xenoblade Chronicles something entirely new? Are they borrowing ideas? Are they trying to retell the story again? I mean, it's certainly quite different, but there are some links direct enough that it's kind of like, well, is this a reimagining? Is this related? But it's also been a very long time since I played Xenogears or Xenosaga.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
but even within Xenogears, or sorry, not Xenogears, Xenoblade, it's very clear that Xenoblade 1 and 2 are connected because there's a moment at the end of Xenoblade 2 that if you haven't played Xenoblade 1, you'll miss it, but if you have, you're like, holy crap, my brain is exploding. But I don't know to the extent that X will mix in at all.
Hmm.
And I just got to the part of the game where the gamepad actually has like a map that does fancy things, but so far I don't see the point in it. And also, this is the first game I've ever played on a Wii U. Who greenlit this thing? It's an abomination. This is a piece
Wait,
of
the
this is
game or the
awful.
Wii? Okay, okay,
The
yeah,
Wii U.
yeah.
Like this is so gigantic. Imagine playing the Switch, but you have to look at your TV, and also you're holding like this. I
And
think
it's
this feels
surprisingly lighter than the Switch, isn't it?
it feels heavier.
It
I
feels
don't know.
heavier.
Maybe.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm holding it in one hand. I don't. I got half a mind to go. Hold on.
Okay. Oh man, live weight comparison. What beats it out, the Wii U gamepad or the Nintendo Switch? You decide. Comments. Press 1 for Wii U. Press 2 for Switch. Push the talk, Derek.
This is my Switch OLED.
Okay.
Yeah, good catch.
It does look nice, by the way. I will admit.
Okay, they feel about the same. This is my Wii U gamepad. They feel about the same. Okay, the Switch OLED is heavier. It's denser. I can feel that,
Okay.
but not by a lot. Okay, now I'm gonna put them for you YouTube watchers. I'm gonna put them on top of each other.
Oh boy.
The
Oof.
gamepad is a lot bigger than the
Oof.
OLED.
Oh man.
Like, it's fatter. Of course, I have a thing on it, but it's fatter. It's wider. It's taller. Like, it's gigantic.
That's not even a 720p screen that's slapped into that Wii U gamepad either.
It's not.
I don't think so. If I remember correctly, I know it's like some like super weirdo like off
600,
resolution.
612.
Yeah.
Well, I like it's uncomfortable to play with, and for this game you have to use it. You can't just use a regular controller or a Wiimote or whatever. So yeah, so far I'm annoyed. I was going to download a bunch of like Wind Waker HD and Mario Galaxy 2 and a bunch of games that I missed, but I kind of just want to get rid of this sucker after I beat Xenoblade because I I
Dang.
like people are like, the Wii U didn't really get the promotion it deserved and nobody gave it a chance. No, I think it was just bad hardware from launch. Like the Wii U died so the Switch could live, and I'm okay with that.
Oh man, just you're just gonna create a whole new fight where people are going, no man, come on. The GameCube was great, and it's just
GameCube
like
was great.
it had good games,
It did have good games.
but I don't know if you can say the console itself was great.
Well, the controller was fantastic. Right now, I'm concerned about the controller.
Dude, I don't know.
The thing about the GameCube, I don't know what Nintendo. Jamie said this in chat. Nintendo, like half the time, it's like this is the best idea you've ever had. The other half the time, it's like, how are you guys this stupid? If the GameCube had just had a DVD player, like you think back to that era. Again, that was 20 years ago. A lot of people, myself included, bought a PS2 or an Xbox because They did not want to pay for an extra DVD player because those were like $300. Like if the
I
GameCube had just played DVDs, they would have sold twice as many.
Okay, Derek, I'm gonna level with you. This
What?
whole if it had a DVD player, it would have sold better is complete baloney.
No, I'm dead
This is
serious.
not the argument that you should be having.
Why do you think that's wrong?
Because we're talking about game consoles. Why are you talking about
Dude,
features that are completely
because
irrelevant to your enjoyment
dude,
of video game media?
okay, because 20 years ago, like who buys consoles? Yeah, we're old now. We buy our consoles. Back then, your mom buys the console. And mom doesn't want to pay for a DVD player and a GameCube when mom can just buy a PlayStation 2.
Yes, but that's only if we're having the discussion as children, but we're having this discussion as adults. So as
About our
adults,
childhood. About our childhood.
about our childhood. My childhood was I just got the PS2 for free because my brothers got tired of it. That's my childhood. So
Why did they get a PS2?
I don't know because they were
Because
dumb.
mom didn't want to pay for a DVD player.
They didn't even use it. My parents didn't care about DVDs until like much later. And you know what they did? They just went and bought one. So it has nothing to do with. So in
Okay,
my
like
personal opinion, I don't think this discussion has anything to do with additional features or anything like that. This is like like if we're really going to have this discussion, then what on earth was Microsoft doing with the Xbox One then on their release? Like how did the Xbox One at launch completely fail in comparison to like the Wii U and the PS4?
I don't understand how Microsoft even got a foothold in the first place. But I will say, in terms of features, you're right. Not every added feature is a benefit. Look at this gamepad right here.
Yeah, that's definitely one example right there that you're holding in your hand. You
All
know,
right.
I bet if the Netflix app worked properly, it would have sold way better, obviously.
And I can watch Netflix on this. That might have worked.
I
Hmm.
mean, technically you could, but the app doesn't work
Why?
anymore. That's the problem.
Wait. So wait, this had a Netflix app,
Yeah.
and there's still no Netflix on Switch.
No.
Why does this? Oh,
But
I'm so confused.
but hey, now you can watch Twitch. Like 2 years after the console came out, now you can watch Twitch streamers on your Nintendo Switch. Switch
Twitch.
Twitch.
But and Hulu's on there, but there's still no Netflix. Why is Nintendo so dumb?
I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Makes a lot of decisions that where it's like it's one decent decision and then the rest are dumb.
So my daughter, okay, I'll end my part half of this on this. My daughter, who's 7, in second grade, they have to do a historical figure. They have to do this book report. It's gonna be this long thing, and they're gonna do like a museum thing where they have to dress up and like supposed to be like a what are those called statue wax museum kind of thing, but it's gonna be them dressed up instead of wax museum figures.
Oh, okay.
So they have to like give a speech about this character that they're dressed up as, about the history of their life, and they have to be dead, and they can't be from the Bible because there's not enough evidence or whatever, not enough to talk about, not evidence, not that there's not enough evidence that they existed, but not enough to like fill a book report. So I was asking different people that she wanted to be, and she's like, I don't know who that is, whatever. Well, I accidentally convinced her to dress up as Satoru Iwata, and then I had to talk her out of it because I was like, "This is not going to go well with your class." But she would not let it go. She was like, "Yeah, that's who I want to be. Who he's dead, so it does work." But
I
yeah,
mean, to be perfectly honest, I would have loved to have seen that because
she's going to be Marie Curie. But I was kind of joking, and she was like, "Dad, that's what I want to do." And I was like, "No, you're not doing this."
I don't
So I
know,
had to.
man. I feel like I mean I understand where you're coming from with that. Uh, being a subset of said controversial topic that could be stepped upon if she were to do that. But I don't know. I mean, I'd say go for it. You know, why not? Right?
Well, we're gonna be Marie Curie and see how that
I
goes.
mean, as long as it's not something like, well, I got to go for full authenticity and just really get every detail. You know what I mean? Like
I think she just wants to talk about Animal Crossing for her whole book report.
I,
And
I, I mean,
anyway,
if you had an excuse to, wouldn't you? I mean, I did. Like,
I guess I don't understand that game. So I have been by proxy playing the Animal Crossing DLC
mhm.
because she keeps making me look up where to get vegetables.
She makes you take part in the turnip time travel black market scheme.
Well, we haven't time traveled yet. Oh gosh, is that? I told her time travel didn't do what she wanted to do, and I think I lied, but I'm gonna stick to it.
Hey, as long as it doesn't make her use scummy gaming tactics and have her join the hordes of people going, "Shut up! It's a legitimate strategy," and it's just like, no,
What?
you just want to.
Why does that game need a strategy? That game is pointless.
I don't
I'm probably
I
gonna make
don't
her
I
mad.
don't know. I don't know
After my daughter
why.
had
I don't know why people are so hung up about turnips with that game.
after, after my daughter had put about 300 hours in that game, which you can judge me all you want for letting my daughter play that game for 300 hours. She goes, "Dad, what's the point of Animal Crossing?" And I go, "I don't know, kid. I don't know." And she hasn't stopped. Like, but now her aunt's got it, so it never ends.
Oh, is her aunt playing now too?
Yeah, and they go to each other's island and exchange vegetable seeds or whatever.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't it?
I
I don't
mean,
get it.
I mean, it's better than the thousands of other online scenarios that she could be running it.
You're
So,
right. She's done some math. She's done some spelling, through the game. Like she's had to do quite a bit of math. So I think it is actually. I mean, I think playing games overall helps you in school. And she's not. She keeps wanting to play Roblox, and I'm like, no, I'm not sending you to Predatorville.
she didn't have to deal with being accused of trade mongering in an online game
Yeah.
that almost nobody played anyway. So it's like trade mongering with who? There's nobody here. The sloppy other player. But yeah.
All right. You tell me about Shin Megami Tensei the Fifth.
Okay, before I get into it, is there anything you need to know before I start talking about Shin Megami Tensei the Fifth?
Yes. Okay. The main angle I want you to present this from,
Okay.
which is not even me, but I think a lot of people are looking at this who have only ever played Persona 5. And they know these games are kind of related, and they're like, hey, this is the next game in one of those series, so they've only played Persona 5 and they go and play this. What do you want to tell that person?
Um, in particular to Shin Megami Tensei 5, in that regard,
Like,
it is and it isn't. Like so in my particular case, like I actually started with Persona 3, and then from there I played Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne on the happenstance that while looking up other scenes of social links I didn't get in my first playthrough on YouTube, uh, I then randomly came across a video of Nocturne while looking at those videos and said, "Oh, what's this? I'll click on this and see what this is about." And I was just immediately like, "I think I want to play this." So I looked for a copy as soon as I could, and then I played that. And then after that, Persona 4 came out. Then there was Raido Kuzunoha, which is a Devil Summoner spin-off of a spin-off. Um, and then there was Devil Survivor for the DS, and that came out a little bit later. And then there was Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey. Do you want me to keep going? Or I could keep going, but
I don't think this is the stuff that person wants to know.
okay. Alright, so going back to the actual question, I was just doing it for a laugh. Um yeah, I mean ultimately it is and it isn't. I would say the biggest thing is instead of humans as your party members, it's really your demons that are your party members. Uh like
So,
it
like real life, basically.
I mean to a degree, except I don't think you could really make demons put on cute costumes like your little dogs and whatnot. Uh I mean you could try, but they probably say like Um, no, or well, it could be a number of things. It could be yes, no, I don't think so. Would it look cute on me? Or I'm gonna kill you now.
So
And this is actually related to gameplay.
you're dressing up demons in costumes. Okay, I did see something on Twitter that somebody said that demon negotiation wasn't as it was too easy compared to Shin Megami Tensei 4. I don't know what any of this means.
Okay,
What does it mean to negotiate with
okay,
demons?
okay, okay, okay. So, so in Persona 5, one of the main gimmicks that they brought over from the mainline series is demon negotiation. Um, and what demon negotiation is like that was the main gimmick of the SMT mainline series, which is you can recruit your enemies and utilize them as part of your party, or you can fuse them to make stronger demons.
Isn't this just Pokemon?
Uh, in some ways, yes, this is the proto Pokemon. This was Pokemon before Pokemon was Pokemon.
Mind blown.
Yeah, pretty much. We don't talk about that though because everyone just likes to think, yeah, we were before Pokemon. We were also edgier and much more mature than Pokemon players. Uh, cut to 20 years later, where there are still full-grown adults playing Pokemon to this day. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, if anything, it's really just more like Shin Megami Tensei has built up a reputation of being about monster collecting and also being uh abnormally hard. I'm not gonna say like ridiculously hard. I'm gonna say it's abnormally hard. Like
Are
if you
there
compare it
difficulty settings?
to like Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, even Shin Megami Tensei requires a lot more from you. And it's not necessarily like you have to grind more, although like for old school JRPGs, grinding was a thing that you had to do in those games.
Can you adjust the difficulty?
Yes, there is an easy mode, and then after that, there is a free DLC safety mode. It's called uh, legitimately, it's called safety mode, and I will say that is essentially the story mode. So it's very easy mode if you want to put it that way. I don't know
Fine
the
by
full
me.
details of it. I will have to look into it for the review, just to figure out what differences there are, because they've handled it differently with like Persona 5 and Shin Megami Tensei 4 and 4 Apocalypse as well. But the main thing about Shin Megami Tensei 5 in particular is that um, it's essentially Shin Megami Tensei. It's a Shin Megami Tensei game if it was like thrown into a Xenoblade Chronicles game,
What
like
does that mean?
like straight up. Like so, okay, so like you know how in Xenoblade Chronicles you have like certain overworld areas, and then
Yeah.
there are like a bunch of enemies walking around. There's stuff to pick up, and then there's like huge enemies just lumbering around, and then you try to fight them, and they're like 40, 50 levels above you and stuff like that.
Yep.
It's basically like that. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a Xenoblade Chronicles game wearing the skin of a different game. Uh, there is a bit of a twist at the part where I'm at right now, where it starts to feel like Persona. So at that point, it's like if you got to that point, I can understand where the comparisons would start being made. But I think, but in my experience with Shin Megami Tensei games, I know for a fact that this is a trap, and I should not fall for it and think, "Oh, the game's gonna let me take a breather now," and then it's like, "Nope, something screwy has happened. You gotta go to this temple and go fight some demons again." After I think like what 13 hours of exploring that first overworld area, and that was like the first part. Um, the game is big. It's a lot bigger than I was expecting, really. And there there seems like there's a lot to do. Like right now, I tried to clear as most of the content as I could. And there's some DLC I picked up, but I haven't really tackled it on that yet. Uh, but there is one side quest that I've picked up, which I haven't completed. I've only managed to fight one of the stronger demons that I have to fight, and there's three more that I still have to fight. Um, but I haven't gotten access back to that area yet. Um, but yeah. Any other questions?
None of these are story connected, right? They're each their own story.
Yeah. What I talked about just now is a side quest. Um, the example that I gave just before that, that's part of the main story. Um,
No, I mean, it's not connected to SMT4.
oh, all these games? No. I mean, as far as I can tell, there may be some like details underneath that might be interconnected with the previous games. I just don't know yet. Uh, because like as far as I can tell, um, it's possible that this game is connected to the previous mainline game, which would be 4 Apocalypse. Um, as in, like, I think it might be based on one of the endings from that game. But as far as like the rest of the series, I don't think they're connected.
So Joe's playing this too, and he said it was disappointing that the game was only on the Switch because he said the performance wasn't that great. Has that been your
Uh,
experience?
yeah. I mean, okay. Like, I've made my peace with the Switch. I'm not expecting perfect performance. I never expected perfect performance. Like, even playing Breath of the Wild at launch was pretty rough, honestly. But I mean, like, I still liked that game, and I still love this game, even if it doesn't perform very
Like,
well.
back up for a second. Breath of the Wild did have a huge update where they reduced load times, didn't it?
They did, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
okay, I remember that now.
Yeah, but like, even then, it's like it's not like that's stopping anyone. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that Shin Megami Tensei doesn't really get a chance to release anywhere else after uh kind of after years of really just hopping consoles just to like quote unquote stay alive, I guess. Um but I mean like I mean, do I wish it could be better? Yes, I do wish it could perform better. Is it like is there anything that's like really slowing stuff down? Not really. I mean like I mean like yeah, I see some details like there are some models in the far distance that are chugging along like they're skipping 10 frames per second or something like that. But I mean I'm still enjoying the game. Like there's no reason for me to stop.
So people associate Persona with PlayStation, I think, because of P5, and I think 4 and 3 were on PS4, right, or PS3, or
Yes, that is true.
Vita. P4 was on P4 Golden was on Vita.
Hmm.
But the mainline series, the number 4 was on 3DS, right? Like,
Yes.
has this been a Nintendo franchise for a long time?
Basically, yeah, since the beginning.
That's odd. Not most people just think Nintendo still has this disassociation with M-rated games, so that's just kind of funny.
Well, I mean, like as far as the mainline series goes, the only exception to that has been Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which was a PlayStation 2 title. Um, but I mean, yeah, and I'm not really sure what's the story behind that actually. I think it was just like it was just like a random thing where um like PlayStation was hot and they were just asking people if they wanted to make a game for them, and Atlas just said okay, sure. So, but yeah, I mean, like the SMT franchise, like when I say franchise, it's almost like there are addendums to that because not every game is is part of the mainline series.
Right.
Like what is it? Like there's soul hackers, there's devil summoners. Those were I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, those were Sega only games. I think like they were available on the Saturn at first. Um and then like uh after I think after Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne sold pretty well on the PS2, then they like just loaded off a bunch of other games. The Persona series being one of them. Or well, sorry, rather after Persona 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 1 did very well. Then there was Nocturne, and then there was Persona 3, and then the rest of the other games that released on the PS2. Um, and then like what is it? I think uh like Persona 1 got ported to PSP, and there were also some spin-off games that were made for the DS. Which also got remakes for the 3DS as well, um, which was
So
pretty
basically, at
crazy.
this point, it's everywhere. But it does seem like a little bit in recent years they've kind of made SMT the Nintendo franchise and Persona the PlayStation franchise. That's a maybe a broad generalization, but that's kind of the impression that I get. Because
I mean, you would be right in making that statement. So,
okay, so I'm trying to understand the okay. So the graphics aren't great, but the you're still loving it. You're 13 hours in. What is the main over other RPGs? What is the main appeal for you? The negotiation with demons? like,
yes,
like
and also the challenge. Like, there's something about an SMT game in particular that's just like it's very dare I say archaic, but it's also very refined in its design. Like if you're talking about like what it if you're talking about the like the legacy of SMT and what brings people back to this series in particular, like the game the game does its best to make you really think about your decisions because you can't like every encounter you can't really turn your brain off to to not my intention is not to it is not my intention to revive this dead meme, but it is kind of like Dark Souls, where like in Dark Souls to a degree, you don't really have to to a degree, you do have to constantly keep yourself mentally engaged with the game because if you relax and let your guard down, the game will like send something else your way just to slap you awake and be like, "Hey, pay attention." Because I'm not screwing around, and if you think I'm playing around, then I will, I will break you. Essentially, uh, SMT
have you
games are
played
known for their challenge.
Dragon Quest 11?
I have not yet.
The same. I mean, a different system, but to me, it's the same idea of we're going to take the thing we've always done, but we're going to just iterate the crap out of it, and it is going to be demanding, but we're going to rather than innovate, we're just going to refine in a good way. Like it's a very good game.
Yeah.
But when I hadn't played Dragon Quest in so long that when I first started playing it again, I was like, what is with this combat? It is just like bare bones. But by the end, I was convinced.
Oh no, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I mean, Shin Megami Tensei is very similar in that regard, where it's like it's literally playing by its own rules, much like how Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy play by their own rules. Even though I guess the Final Fantasy series kind of set the standard for JRPGs. Um, like I guess it's like um I didn't really consider how important game design was until I started playing SMT games, if that makes sense. Um, because like uh okay, so let me give an example from SMT5. So in the first overworld area that you're put into, you're like exploring around. There's like there are some areas that are like little coves which have some hidden stuff in them and stuff like that. There's always items that you can pick up that you can sell for money or use in combat and stuff like that. Um, there was this one instance where you go into this cave and then uh, it reveals this like big encased opening where there are a bunch of cliffs. But right in front of you, you'll see an item that you can pick up. But if you're paying attention, if you pan the camera up, you'll see demons perched on the cliff on all sides, on all sides around you, and they're just staring down at you, just just waiting. They're not even moving or anything like that. And I had a suspicion. I was like, if I once I go pick up that item, they're all gonna rush me, aren't they? And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna try and see if I can escape. So I just keep going forward and I keep running back just to make sure are they gonna proc early? And they don't. It is specifically after I pick up the item that that they then that they all gain aggro and start rushing me. And that is like a trick that the game tries to play at you. It's all these little things where like okay, like you want this item, you don't even know what it could be. It could be a healing item or it could be nothing, and you'd probably be risking your life just for like this one piddly item. And it's like, are you willing to take that chance or not? Um, and like if this was an older SMT game, this would this would be a guaranteed forced encounter that you would have to fight your way out of for what's probably like uh, a light healing item or something like that. Uh, like the Shin Megami Tensei series is not afraid of not pulling its punches, if that makes sense. Um like uh it's gonna give you some bait, and then you're gonna have to make the active decision if you're gonna take that bait or not, and see if you can get away with and see if you can get away with it or suffer for the consequences. Um but I guess it's like okay, wait, before I continue, so like are you just curious if it's more about the gameplay or if it's specifically like an aesthetic that people enjoy about the series, or like
I just
how people prefer this series over Persona?
any of it. I just let you fangirl out a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't have a. I'm never gonna play this game. I don't play rated games,
Oh
so
no,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
I'm just letting you go. I do have okay. So I'm watching a trailer, and man, the guys in chat are right. This main character looks like a girl. Are they? Are there? Is there like a? Well, you haven't gotten far enough, maybe, but like, is there a male party member that gets confused? Are we heading towards some anime tropes?
no,
Like, we haven't.
no one's really made that confusion. I mean,
It's coming.
and I
It's
mean,
coming.
like, I don't know what to tell you. I I knew it was a guy like right away. He just has really pretty eyelashes. I don't know what your deal is, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that discussion and like it was really just like like I'm just looking around and going like, what's actually the confusion though? Like, is it because he looks pretty? Like, is that why?
I think it's the hair, like for
I mean,
me.
if it's the hair, then I definitely understand that because the hair is definitely a unique design choice. Um, like it is very distinct. I don't know if there's a point to it. I'm right now. I'm just accepting it as that's the design choice that they went with. Um, I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the story itself, but I guess if anything, uh so the um the main character of Shin Megami Tensei 5, that that form with the long hair, it's known as what's called in the game as Nahobino, and I'm not sure what it exactly translates to, but the way to describe it in the game is that uh it's a forbidden form that that the main character has, or rather, it is um it is akin to something that should not be able to exist, or should be or is forbidden to exist. And there's like some setup to this, to the story where it talks about where it distinguishes that there is a god of law that that stole knowledge from the world of man and used it to affirm his place, affirm his position, residing over the entire world and the rest of the uh, myriads of gods that exist in this world. Um, and so the Nahobino is essentially an affront to this god of law. Um, and that's as far as I know. I'm not sure if I want to talk about story elements that I've discovered so far, in case of spoilers. But since you're never gonna play it, I mean, okay, you know what? Pause right here. I'm going to be spoiling a very big twist about the game, so just so that Derek can follow along. Uh, so if you don't want to hear it, uh, skip to maybe like 10 minutes in. I'll try to keep it brief. Okay,
You're gonna talk about this for 10 more minutes?
I'm gonna talk about this for as long as I want to. Uh, okay, so once you defeat like what's essentially like the first big boss, um, it gets revealed that that the Tokyo that you were in previously, uh, okay, actually, let me back up real quick. Okay, so you're living in Tokyo, modern day Tokyo, and then all of a sudden you get transported to what looks like Tokyo, but it's like completely destroyed. Like think Dune, but it's apocalyptic Tokyo instead of apocalyptic whatever. Um, so then it gets revealed that um, that the Tokyo that you used to live in is actually a completely fabricated Tokyo that does not exist. The real Tokyo was actually destroyed um, 20 years ago, prior to the game.
You're plugged
And
into the Matrix.
hmm?
You're plugged into the Matrix.
I don't know. I don't know yet. Haven't gotten that far. I have reason to believe that the people who have told me this information may be lying to me or withholding information. Um, but I haven't gotten there yet. I'm just telling you what I know right now. So, uh, so the reason why the Tokyo that you are currently aware of is still able to exist is because the God of Law was able to completely replicate Tokyo before the incident 20 years ago happened. So it was able to restore Tokyo to completely, as well as the 20 million lives that were lost in that incident. Um, and and now you're essentially fighting with a secret organization known as Bethel uh, to stave off the demon invasion that is trying to encroach upon the fabricated Tokyo. Uh, and at this point, this is probably, like I said, this is probably where a lot of people are thinking, oh, so it's just like Persona then. Um, Maybe, except probably not. And I know this for a fact, and even if I didn't have previous knowledge of Shin Megami Tensei before, if you had played um, Shin Megami Tensei 4 before this game, I would definitely say there is no reason to think that this will be exactly like uh, Persona in any regard. Like there is always there is always a deception, if that's a better way to put it. Where like you're presented one piece of information and you accept that as truth until the next person you meet actually reveals to you the truth about the world that you're in. And this was like this is actually a long running thing that happens in the first, the second, um, and the fourth game, as well as a Strange Journey, actually. But okay, let me check. Okay, yeah, spoilers over. So yeah, like uh, Shin Megami Tensei 5, to me right now feels um feels very robust. And when I say robust, I don't necessarily mean like uh there's like tons of content to do, although there is, but it feels like it does feel like that the dev team took their time with the game and tried to do their best to kind of refine stuff like combat, how you be exploring this overworld and discovering stuff like side quests and like trying to like like even to the point where like you can't really grind in this game. Like you definitely hit a point where it's like um uh you you can't really rely on fights unless you want to fight hundreds of fights over and over again, getting like bits of that EXP at a time. Like like by the time I hit the first soft level cap, um I was pretty much earning only uh like 11 to 20 EXP for each battle after that. And by that point, I was needing like uh 10,000 EXP just for the next level up essentially. So unless I really wanted to like uh if it unless I really wanted to like dig in or try my hand at those other stronger demons for me to fight against, I wasn't getting anywhere. So I really just had to like dig in and just fight those other bosses. And I mean, I will fully admit that I've died several times already. Um and I guess it's like uh it's hard to say if dying is part of the point or not. And in a way it kind of is. Because when you encounter a boss, there's um there's not really a way for you to know right away what all of its weaknesses are, or even necessarily like what your best strategy is. Because even if you have like even if every member of your team, including the main character, was able to exploit the weakness that that boss has, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can win the fight, because you do have to think about your team composition, and there's also this thing with skills where where demons will have higher affinity for certain skills. So you also have to think about that as well, where it's like, okay, well, every demon in my party has a fire skill, but these two demons uh, require more MP to fire it off because they have terrible affinity with it. Uh, but they just so, but they also happen to be like weak to ice, um, which the boss uses ice spells, and they hit pretty hard as well. It's this very intricate balance of like understanding what spells demons are good at, and then thinking about like, okay, I have to think about my team composition. I have to think about my skills that I have, what my role is in the party, what demons that I need for in my party to cover things like healing, magic spells, if I want a physical attacker or not. Um, should I keep one demon uh, to using buffs and debuffs exclusively, or should I spread that out among the group so they can stack buffs and debuffs per turn? Um, oh yeah, and actually, you don't actually know about this, but there's also another system in place in the combat that's called the press turn system, and basically it just works like every member in your party has a turn, but you can get a chance to earn an extra turn if you're able to exploit a weakness of the enemy or get a critical hit. So so if you're able to crush it, you can essentially have like 8 turns for your entire party. However, if you mess up and you hit against an enemy's resistance that is able to block, null, or repel it, then you lose 2 turns. And the thing about this gimmick is that it's available to both sides. So your enemies can do it, but you can do it as well. And that's probably like one of the big. That's probably one of the big things that if you're new to the games, that's that's going to be harder to keep up against, because there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason to what demons resistances are. Like right now I think there's a confirmed 200 demons that are available in the game, and they all have different resistances. And they're not necessarily all the same either. They're like drastically different. So like each demon feels unique. And I think that's part of why as far as the monster collecting aspect goes, that's what makes it feel that's what makes each demon feel much more unique, because like aside from the fact that they come from different mythologies and stuff, and the art team does a pretty amazing job to in keeping in within like a cultural aesthetic of what these demons should look like from their respective cultures. Um, but it's also like, because they have unique resistances, they feel more like characters uh as far as battling goes. So it's more interesting um in regards to the mainline series. And in this game though, like the fact that you're just wandering around in a 3D overworld, and get to like see you get to like see demons just running around and stuff, and you like get to interact with them and everything, like that adds like a whole new flavor to the interaction with them and stuff. I mean like there's an area where there's just like a big black dragon just flying around you, and I look up and I see it flying in the distance, and I go, "Oh, I recognize that demon. That's Seth, the Egyptian god of death, as depicted in other SMT games." I kind of sound like I'm just doing an infomercial now. And he's a higher level, and he's a higher tier demon, like way above me. I can't fight that guy. I hope he never notices me. Uh, and like, I mean, it's great. What else can I say? Like, I really love this game. Like, I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Never, never was I expecting it to be an actual like 3D exploration game. Like like it's already gone way beyond what I was expecting in comparison to like Shin Megami Tensei 4 as well. Like the game's great. I love it. I love me some demon apocalypse, gathering demons up and being like, "Hey, you want to help me not die?" And they go like, "Yeah, sure. What you got though?" I'm like, "Um, I got like some money. I got my flesh. I got my stamina. I got this soda. You want soda?" I'm like, "Yeah, that looks good. Give me that. I'll join you now." So yeah, I don't know. Any other questions before I
If
wrap up
demons
my
like
TED talk of Shin Megami Tensei?
if demons like pop, that explains a lot about my own health issues. It's been a struggle with the Mountain Dew for a long time.
Oh boy,
Um,
I can think of actually a couple of demons who would be all about men too.
no, I think that was a sufficient infomercial. Shin Megami Tensei 5 out now, only $59.99 on the eShop. This brought to you by Atlas and Sega, who paid us nothing. Well,
They didn't even have to pay me. I would still rep for them, honestly. But
do you have any complaints other than the frame rate or whatever?
yeah, I wish Atlas would get the stick out of their butt and not make streaming
They are not
requirements
paying us.
so terrible.
Oh, you have to. So what does that entail? You have to have a certain level or something to stream it, or
No, well, I mean, I don't know it because I'm not a professional streamer. But from what I've heard, the restrictions are kind of ridiculous. Like, don't show. I'm trying to remember. Um, you you can only play up to this story point, and you must skip cutscenes at all times.
that's a
Uh,
little crazy.
don't show boss analysis weaknesses. Uh, I think there was something else. I would have to look it up again. I'm actually hang
That's
on.
what. Well,
I'm sure I'm
what are you
sure
watching
someone put it
for?
up right now.
I only watch video clips of other people playing video games if I'm stuck on a boss. Other than that, I don't care what you people are doing.
Okay, Shin Megami Tensei 5 streaming FAQ from Atlas themselves. We strongly prohibit video recording and live streaming of the game. Oh, okay, prior to its global launch. All right, that's fine. Okay, not gonna look at that first part. That feels like a spoiler. Uh, boss analysis information visible on the analyze menu screen. We also ask that you do not upload background music tracks or stream with a specific purpose of distributing the music of Shin Megami Tensei 5. Okay. Well, that's an FAQ. Doesn't really show anything. Okay, so essentially it just looks like don't show boss information because that's cheating, and don't show the ending. Also, don't share the music. That looks like that's pretty much it. But then again, with streaming how it is right now, it's probably like just a mixed bag anyway, as to how that would turn out.
Well, it sounds like this is in the running for Game of the Year for you. Is anything else coming close? Like Monster Hunter Rise?
Monster Hunter Rise is a pretty close second, maybe. Uh, if only because like I haven't had time to go back to Monster Hunter Stories 2. As far as like JRPGs go, like the problem for me is like I would have to compare it between Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Monster Hunter Stories 2 because I haven't gotten around to Near Replicant yet.
Mm.
Uh, I'm trying to remember what else. Oh my god, yeah, that's the other thing. What video games came out in 2021? I don't even know.
For me, it's Metroid or Tales of Arise are the two big ones. Bravely Default 2 was pretty good, but it
Yeah,
wasn't Game of the Year
I
material.
I, I think Tales of Arise has a chance for Game of the Year, probably for a lot of people. Oh yeah, I guess Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate also counts if you want to count DLC separately.
Mm. I actually, this is okay. This is the biggest indictment I can give you for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I haven't even bothered to re-buy it or whatever to play the DLC. I just don't even care.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't believe he said that. Can't believe he said that to to however many minuscule viewers are gonna actually watch this.
Have you played it?
No, I don't have a PS5. How can I play it?
Well, why don't you have a PS5?
Cause I can't find them.
Because SMT is on Switch, and who cares about the PS5?
Yeah, exactly. I don't give a crap. As if SMT6 is on the PS5, then I'll get it. How about that? It'll probably come to PC first, honestly though.
To be fair, I enjoy my PS5 and games look fantastic on it. I have yet
Mhm.
to play a PS5 exclusive that I could have just played on PS4.
I mean,
I
there's
played a lot of
Returnal.
really great. That's that game's hard.
Fair enough.
I have played a bunch of PS4 games and even like PS3 ports of PS4 games. That's what I've done since I bought my PS5. I said that backwards. I think PS4 ports of PS3 games. Like Tales of Zestiria was a PS3 game, but there's a PS4 version. That was one of the first games I played on my PS5.
Now, where's the PS5 port of the PS4 port of the PS3 game?
Well, I bought two PS2 games, Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2 and Rogue Galaxy. I don't know why they're on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, but I thought you dropped them.
Well, I mean, I still have them. I might go back to them. I wasn't a big fan, but I'm just saying, like, it's a lot of old crap you can buy on the PS5 store for whatever reason.
Oh, like have they started rolling over like the PS2 classics that were available?
Those were available in the PS4 store, and I don't know why those. If those are PlayStation 2 classics, I don't know. Like, and there's some PS3 games that are only available through PlayStation Now, which I don't understand why I can't. This is annoying to me. Like, I do not want to subscribe to your random crap. I want to play Eternal Sonata, which is one of the few RPGs I never got around to. I can go buy it on my Xbox One S right now, or PlayStation won't just sell it to me. I have to subscribe to PlayStation Now to play it, but I already used my trial when I played Dino Cooney, so I do not like. Why wouldn't you say you could subscribe or like if you? I could just give you $15 for the game. I would have already done it, but now I'm going to go give it to Microsoft instead because you won't just let me buy the game.
How much do you have to pay for the PS Now? Oh, $60 a month. Oh my goodness.
60?
Wait.
Hi.
Oh no, that's for 1 year or 12 months.
Well, either way, I hate subscriptions. I won't do it.
Fair
I
enough.
refuse. Because also, I don't know. It's not that I want to own the game forever. I just don't know that I'll get it done in a month or two when I've got children up my butt all the time, and I don't want to pay for
Uh
like six
for Eternal
months.
isn't Eternal Sonata kind of short for
I
a
have no idea.
JRPG?
That's good news if that's true, but I don't know.
Let's see. How long to beat.com.
It says
Eternal
about
Sonata.
it says about 30 hours,
That's pretty
which is
short.
yeah, that's that's normal to me. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I usually am way under how long to beat if I play just the main story.
Yeah.
I go pretty fast.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
by
I
the
don't know.
way,
I got this. Go ahead.
since we're just gonna be wrapping up, have you seen that Star Ocean trailer?
Yeah, I watched it that day. Star Ocean 2 was fantastic, but I haven't even. I feel like okay, Star Ocean 2 was A New Hope or something like that. There was one called Till the End of Time that was. I know that's Star
Sounds
Wars,
like you
but it had
really
a
like that game.
no. Well, it's been like 20 years, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joshing you.
The Last Hope
Uh,
is that what it was called?
Star Ocean 2, the second story.
Okay, so I played that one. I really enjoyed it. I think that's the only one I've beaten. I played
Okay.
Till the End of Time, which I think is the fourth one, and it didn't really grip me. So I don't really have a lot of like attachment or nostalgia for that series.
Mm,
Um, but if the new one is reviewed well, I'll basically wait for reviews. If the reviews are good, I'll go check it out.
mm.
Because the reviews for most of these games are pretty bad, especially recently.
Yeah, I remember playing Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness, and like I mean, for the most part, I was enjoying my time with it. If I had any complaints, I would say like all the interaction, or rather, the story is presented kind of dry. Like it's very straightforward. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a JRPG that's lost in time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well,
it's a Super Nintendo JRPG uh put into a PS3
yeah.
console that's being sold on the PS4.
Well, see, okay, so the Tales of series had, in my opinion, especially gameplay wise, two pretty bad releases, and then they took 5 years off, and then they made a fantastic game. So I'm hoping Star Ocean can just replicate, some a couple bad releases, take 5 or 6 years off, come back better than ever. So
Well, yeah. Well, I
I'll
mean,
definitely
like,
keep an eye on it.
the new one definitely, the new one definitely looks very different from like the rest of the game. Wait, what was it even called again, though?
The Divine Force.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
see any
right.
kind of I don't see any kind of date or anything. I've already for next year because we're getting towards the end of the year for Backlog Golf, so we're kind of looking at what we're going to pre-order for next year.
Hmm.
I've already pre-ordered Horizon, whatever it's called, the new one, Forbidden West. But JRPG wise, Triangle Strategy and um, the next Trails game are the big things I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah, that's right. Goodness. I guess for me, I would say Elden Ring, but I would need to get a PS5 if I want to play that game. Unfortunately.
Joe said it was like Breath of the Wild mixed with Dark Souls, which everything that was your thing with Shin Megami Tensei. Apparently, open world is just that is like how you make games now, and you don't have a choice. Because that was basically your thing about SMT5, right? Like it was basically Breath of the Wild. You said Xenoblade, but you meant Breath of the Wild.
Did I?
I think so.
Well, no, because Breath of the Wild to me smacks more of like a Ubisoft game, like Assassin's Creed or something. Like even when I was playing that game, I was just thinking like, man, this is kind of like when I played Assassin's Creed 2. Um, Not necessarily a bad comparison, mind you, but it's just like okay, like if I'm perfectly honest about my experience with Breath of the Wild, the one thing I can't really stand about that game is stuff like crafting and crafting, stamina systems, and I don't even know what to call it, like temperature upkeep, like having to deal with like manage. Okay, that's what it is. Micromanagement. I hate micromanagement
Okay,
systems,
well, I didn't mean to get into all that.
but
I mean like in terms of like when you go out in the field and like you have a wide like open road in terms of like there's a wide space, a lot of different paths you can go, side
yeah,
quests you can choose, that aspect of it. But what you just said reminds me when I had taken like a decade off of video games and my friend was begging me to get a Switch to get Breath of the Wild. He was like, "Dude, this game's amazing. You cook your own food and your weapons break." I'm like, that is the worst pitch I've ever heard for a video game ever. I will not buy a Switch. Thank you.
yeah. I mean, I didn't really mind the cooking food part, but that's because like I like cooking, and cooking to me, uh, I I think of it as more positive rather than negative. because like in video games, they don't expect you to know like everything, so they just let you throw in stuff, whatever stuff you want, and then just be like, I don't know, see if it works or not. And then they'll do like a funny joke where it's just like, oh, looks like you messed up, and now you got mysterious food X. Hope you have fun with that. Or uh, like I like stuff like that. I don't like stuff that makes me go like, okay, I want to climb this mountain, but I have to keep an eye on my stamina. I'm gonna have to look at what trail looks best, and it puts me to sleep. I hate stamina systems. Can you tell?
I can tell. Speaking of stamina, I'm about ready to wrap this up. You got anything
Fair
left?
enough. I know. I was trying to wrap up. Anyway, that's gonna be it from us. All stamina out, and we're trying to recover right now. As always, make sure to like and subscribe or comment. Tell me if you think I'm just stupid and dumb about my opinions about SMT5 and how it should be more like Persona 5. I'll probably won't read it anyway. Anyways,
And tell me how bad the Wii U is. This thing sucks. It's terrible.
convince me that the GameCube was better somehow, and I'll still tell you it wasn't PS2 though. Anyway, bye.